acquired. Russell actually just straight up tornadoing things. It's Sharknado, but with birds. Imagine if they remade Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds in modern day, but gave it like a Sharknado twist. How much of a disaster piece would that be? Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. It's Sunday night, and of course that means we have viewer games, and honestly, we have one of the larger submission sets for viewer games that we've had in recent weeks, we'll say. People have been less than enthusiastic about State of Phobies, but maybe there's some enthusiasm returning, as we have seen some people come back to the fold. We're hoping that the changes that were alluded to by Boss and the rest of the team are going to come to fruition, hopefully in the near future. We'll see how that works out. But in the meantime, let's take a look at some games. Now, as I'm loading up the games, of course, I have to let everybody know that I am part of the content affiliate program. That means that the Phobies team does, in fact, give me coffee for producing Phobies content, such as watching these and commentating on these viewer games, but also our weekly tournament series. The coffee there doesn't go to me, it goes to you. It's free to play. Everything gets set to level 1, and we run it every week. You get coffee just for showing up and playing a whole 3 games. So, hit up the Random Thoughts Discord if you're interested in finding out more information about Monster of the Week. We're going to be jumping in. Let's see what our first game is. We're going to look at the win here. That looks like the one that was submitted. It's also conveniently the shorter game. Dudiobugtron, our hero here. I had 2 very close bird-related games against Papu. In the one that I lost, my Edgar Allan survived on 17 HP, but couldn't quite clutch the draw. In the one I won, oh my god, Russell forced them to attack, but my heart was 23 HP away from being killed. Feel free to watch both, or whichever one sounds more interesting. We're going to take a look at the W. We're going to take a look at the W and see what we've got after that manifesto. I don't know. So what's going on, chat? How's everybody doing? I'm, hit the mic. Apologies. You probably noticed behind me earlier, when you'll see it again when I switch the other camera. I'm doing some reorganization in my general streaming area, and it's kind of a disaster at the moment. A lot of it's reorganizing cards, putting them in new boxes, trying to keep everything where it belongs. And that is, if you play card games, that's easier said than done. But what's also easier said than done is winning with these alleged bird-based phobies. We'll see. Russell, I don't know. I've talked about this before. I don't mind the idea in a vacuum. I don't mind the idea of global phobies. We're talking Russell, we're talking Akira, that sort of thing, where it's, yeah, they just hit the whole board and they do a thing, whatever that thing happens to be. However, it does ultimately impact the way the games play out. And speaking of impacting the way the games play out, I do like this aggressive 3-to-1 panic point advantage, the way this is set up. You often see people trying to take that center panic point, but the aggressive positioning here means that you can try and set something up when your opponent goes to reclaim their own panic point. So we'll see how Bad Guy proceeds here. And it looks like they are going to put the tankiest phobie of the bunch, that is Evo, onto the panic point. Excuse me. So, what was I saying about global stuff? I always say that the important part of the game, any game, is not balance, it's fun. Is the game enjoyable to play? And global stuff can be really cool if, you know, you're the one using it and you get to set up this cool Akira play, or you set up Russell and you get to do your evil laugh as your opponent slowly wastes away from poison or something. But it does not change the fact that it does modify the way the game functions. Phobies is designed around the idea that the base action set is 2 moves, 2 attacks, 2 moves or 2 attacks, or a move and attack, and then melee is melee, and ranged is typically a range of 2. So if you break those rules with, well, Akira here, or you break those rules with 3 rangers or 3 movers, or, whatever the case may be, it's going to impact the game, clearly. And that's not a bad thing to have the game upended in that way. But it's kind of zero-sum. And by that, I mean, if you are... if you're putting all the power in a global ability, it is by definition taking power and abilities from other aspects of the game, namely positioning, because your positioning matters way less. It still matters, but it matters way less if your opponent can just get you from anywhere. It's not Octonauty, like we're seeing on the board. It's not Miss Moffat or something where, yeah, it influences your opponent's movement, but it doesn't eradicate it. Akira forces you, like, it completely restricts a lot of your options to the same degree Russell, or a similar degree. And it's okay to have those effects, but you do need to be cautious because they will invalidate so many other aspects of the game, not necessarily game pieces, but game play patterns, which are often more painfully felt because you end up in the situation where, oh, well, I can't do anything, air quotes. And that isn't quite true. There's often, like 99.9% of the time, there was an optimal play that wasn't taken, but it can be a problem. Speaking of problems, Russell is going to be a problem here for Bad Guy. This is kind of cute with the heebie-jeebie special actually locking things out. This prevents some weird plays with Akira pulls because our hero's not going to get yoinked into oblivion, either literally into the pit or into the teeth of this death ball that's building at the top of the board. And given the quantity of undeads and dimensionals, as well as the fact that there are no healers and no way, like, we don't have a boom or something that can just blow itself up so that Bad Guy can unlock their 10 keys, start healing their team, they're pretty much forced into this push. However, this is a pretty scary push. It's something that we've talked about before in the context of a tractor and even Akira. But I'm going to apply it to Russell here, where I think some of these phobies kind of need to exist. They have to exist because they help break stalemates, rather. They force something to happen. Hypothetically, if Russell wasn't on the board here, Bad Guy could kind of just sit back, reposition constantly, and eventually our hero would make enough of an error that Bad Guy can force the issue with an Akira, take over the game. But here, because Russell came down, it now forces Bad Guy to have to do something because they are on the clock instead of the other way around. However, it doesn't look great. We actually get a Frosty here. Frosty coming in thanks to the elimination of the Murder Wing, 3 keys to 1. Kira getting a little taste of their own medicine. Firkin Leapercarn with the takedown. Not something that you see very often. Our hero's slowly whittling Bad Guy down, but it's still a 4-1 panic point advantage, and, okay, no, never mind. I was really worried for a second that Frosty could get that diagonal with Leapercarn, Gravedigger, Octonauty, Heart, and Ginsting for a moment, but they can't. Can't quite reach it. and no shove shark to enable it. Down goes Boomer. That poison's not going to last much longer, but it has absolutely put in the work required. Russell actually just straight up tornadoing things. It's Sharknado, but with birds. Imagine if they remade Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds in modern day, but gave it like a Sharknado twist. How much of a disaster piece would that be? We do get the freeze. That does lock out Russell. 4-1 panic point advantage still. I mean, Russell's kind of locked out. It had to walk around. Taking down the Henrietta, this allows for stabilization of the panic points. We know what it ends with, but 1683. I would watch it. I have to imagine it would do air quotes well. It probably wouldn't do terribly. It still seems like it would be awful. I mean, I don't think there's any way to imagine other than being awful. By the way, this is a great poll. Great heads-up play. Because the poll is going to end up putting... Wait, what? Oh. I was like, why did you do that? But, alright, it didn't matter. I was going to say, why didn't you just move up and kill it? But we got him anyway. GG. Alright, chat. Let's see what else we got on here. We do have a number of dupes. A number of duplicate submissions. So we're going to do what we did last time and actually group them because it makes it a little bit easier. Assuming that it doesn't kick me out of their profile, which happens sometimes. Usually because I click on the wrong thing. No, dearh did not favorite the game. And that looks like it's off their profile. Wah, wah. We haven't had one of those in a while. All right, let's look at the next one. That one is on the profile. 22-turn game from dearh on like and subscribe. Akira moment. I guess tonight is Akira night. Bad movies have a pretty low bar to clear. Usually doing well when your budget is almost nothing, doesn't require much. I don't pay attention to the budget at all. Like, I legitimately don't care how much money a movie spends or doesn't spend. Because I don't value my movie watching experience in terms of their budget. It strictly comes down to, was I entertained? And you could do that with a $6 budget, or you could do that with a $60 billion budget. Hypothetically. It all just comes down to, did you produce something that I don't regret spending time engaging with? We have an early Jaws feasting on the AWOL. I think AWOL turn 1 is one of the universal signs of a Jaws is imminent. Down it. Down it. Down it, down it, down it, down it. Anyway. We're not going to do the whole thing. Little giggles action. I actually like the Rusty as a potential Jaws counterplay, either to keep them thinking about it, so they have to consider whether you're going to be able to lock it down and then kill them, or just to lock them down if you get into range, such that they can, because it's a melee phobia, they can no longer interact with you. And now that we have Shove Shark, a little bit of extended range for that Rusty. Jaws, nom-nomming the Wiggy. A counter Shove Shark. Which, by the way, we did decide to ban a few phobies for Monster of the Week once again. we will see how this plays out. See if people are interested, enjoy the situation more with Sentinels, Shove Shark, and Phantom out of the picture. That's why you see a lot of knockoff studios shoveling out cheap garbage. It only takes one of them doing okay to pay off like 5 movies, and even if that doesn't work out, a couple hundred, unknowing ant pays for the production anyway. Yeah, I guess. I mean, the math has to work out in somebody's favor, right? Or they wouldn't keep doing it. In goes the Rusty. Thanks to Gravedigger Shove Shark, it is locked down temporarily. A tractor, I guess the main component of the offense right now, because you're not going to tractor everything into range of the jaws. At least not right now. But we do have a boss who, it's been a long time coming. Boss, once a very prominent phobie, now, Excuse me. Think that was a numbskull? Oh, excuse me. God damn it. It was, in fact, a numbskull. Excuse me, chat. Also, that would be a wild job to have. I make purposefully cheap movies to trick stupid old people for a living. I don't think that's quite how they put it on the job application, but I'm confident that line of work exists. I can tell you that much. In fact, there are many a scam that are solely based on scamming old people. It's just, that's the way real life is, unfortunately. Alright, we do get the yoink. Did not displace the... Ooh! The double kill from Jaws! I mean, that's a lot of damage. That's a lot of damage. 9 keys remaining for bad guy with that Henrietta coming out, scurrying to the center tile. We got 15 remaining for our hero. How are they pulling out of this situation? Because this looks kind of dire. Your fired has been used. You got the diseased boss. Hevo 3.0 coming in. This is going to lead to a lot of splash damage. Big ol' splash damage. Even able to target the attractor thanks to the shove from the Shove Shark. Of course, no disease getting conferred. And priority seems to be taking down Jaws, understandably. Jaws kind of got its value, though. The problem is that given the positioning, this Smiley did not do nearly enough. Like, great, you diseased the boss, but the result of the death ball you created means that Hevo 3.0 came in and just kind of ruined your day. Because the Smiley's going to go down with trivial additional effort. The boss is still alive to continue causing problems. Not for much longer, but it still exists. Additional splash means a tractor's down? Wait, wasn't there supposed to be an Akira this game? Oh, that was the other game. This is Something is Cooking, was the notes. My bad. That's why the sound cut out, by the way. Bad guy desperately trying to claw back with tentacles. I don't think Jill is going to get it done. That's a nearly full health Hevo 3.0. Admittedly, there's some life leech from this full health flesh crawler, but it's about to get farted on. You got him. Boop. Oh, no. No. This is a seemingly low-level Hevo. Maybe not. I don't know why. I don't know. The 500 damage seemed low. I'm not sure why. What year did that happen, Atona? I never heard about that. At least I don't remember hearing about that. Down goes the sheep, but bad guy. Bad news. Somehow they survive for another turn. Oh, because the cowbell's not our heroes. I thought the cowbell was on our heroes team. I didn't understand how the bad guy didn't die. I was very confused. Cowbell not going to stand up to the might of Hevo 3.0. Well played. Well done. 2010s? I don't remember that at all. And I just got out of dearh's profile, and I think they had another game. They did, in fact. Yeah, I don't remember that happening with Regal Cinemas at all. I mean, I believe you. I just don't remember that. Alright, dearh game up next. Phobopolis. I forgot this map existed. Opponent did a lot of damage, played very smartly, but in the end, it was a tough match. I feel like those notes are what you hear after somebody wins a game. And by a game, I mean, like, you interview any professional athlete, and they're like, so what do you think of your opponent's performance today? And they'll say something like that. What? This sounds like straight-up shenanigans, Satona. I want to say that, like, I gotta look this up later, but I'm gonna forget. But, like, this sounds so ridiculous. It almost sounds like the plot to a movie in and of itself. Bad guy, did you just cough up your jar for freezies? Okay. I was gonna say, like, what are you doing? That snowball's just gonna pick it off. I mean, I guess you'd be trading snowballs, because then your snowball plus Gravedigger would get it. I don't know. Probably could get the Gravedigger then, because you could park the Hevo and a jar in range to light it up. There's a little repositioning here. We got a long-ish game. Phobopolis tends to lead to these. That's exactly what it sounds like, Atona. Everything you're describing sounds like that. That would be the end goal. Oh, the heebie-jeebies special to try and protect the Hevo. Ray Chargels will have to overextend to a degree if it wants to actually engage with that Hevo. I would not recommend it if you plan on keeping that thing intact. This does solidify the 3-to-1 panic, or 3-to-2 panic point advantage for our hero. Hilariously, the spider is trapped, trying to push its way out through the obstacle. I don't know why it made that sound. Does Henrietta normally make that sound effect? That sounds like a dimensional sound effect. Part of the reason I started the stream early tonight, chat, I am tired. I need some rest. We will be streaming tomorrow. I'm going to do some IRL streams, some Star Wars tabletop action. Got a big tournament coming up Then I'm not playing it. I'm going to be observing next weekend. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Maxed out Phobies for our hero. I don't love this, but they do have a panic point advantage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for bad guy with 15 keys. Yeah, I don't love maxing out here. I don't really know what the Maggie is supposed to be doing. I know it's been out there for a couple turns at this point, but like, why? Bad guy, I think that's a mistake. Opening up the keys for our hero. 11 available, 16 total. Bad guy has a gazillion keys. Ooh, we got a Russell. How are you going to respond to the Russell? Because there's virtually no way to get at it. A second heebie-jeebie special. Honestly, I don't know if this is good for our hero, because that Russell will start ticking away. Anyway, Godzilla card game. Small set, small packs. I haven't thought much about how much the pack, how much that affects pack math other than less chaff commons get printed, which might be a good thing for trees or something. It is. I have had conversations with people about the ecological impact of essentially throwaway games, because pieces can't really be reused because they're so unique. And especially because a lot of games don't get reprinted. If you break a piece, you could always proxy something to a degree, but in a lot of cases, it's like, at a certain point, once game pieces get damaged to a certain degree, it is like, well, I have to replace it or get more, and if you can't get more, what do you do with it? It probably gets thrown away. So there is a level of wastefulness in the way some things are designed now. All right, juiced up Hevo going after its distant cousin, Plaid. Is this enough damage? It is not. What are we doing here? What? I mean, I don't hate it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Our bad guys max out, so they can't get their own healer. Sacrificing a lot of keys here, though. We'll come back to the Godzilla thing, because I have some other commentary. I always have commentary. It's kind of my job to have commentary on everything, even if I have no valid comment to actually add. So our hero took a beating that turn, but did earn themselves a double kill through the end of that turn. Crushmore opening for Jar. Actually enough to take down the Plaid. I guess we didn't want to hit the Russell for reasons. This does kind of beckon the Russell to come in and be like, oh, look at this juicy double hit you could get, but I don't know. Gravedigger chopping through the blocks for bad guy. I used to play Phobies, but just got turned off and stopped playing. I can't necessarily blame you. I get it. I am part of the content affiliate program, but I have my share of complaints about Phobies. I just did a video not too long ago about the recent statement from the devs about what they're going to do going forward. So there is kind of a light at the end of the tunnel. There is at least a reason to be hopeful about some change. We'll see. I think you should be able to have a deck that's 100% proxies if you can prove you own the cards in the deck. That way preservation of game pieces is less of an issue. I would agree. No company would ever agree. For obvious reasons. But the thing is, I would go so far as to, like, I don't even care if I play against proxies. If I went to an official tournament and I played against proxies, I would not care. I mean, I would only care insofar as the easily identifiable game, or pieces need to be easily identifiable. I don't want to be like trying to squint at your chicken scratch to figure out, well, like, what did you scribble on there? What is that game piece? If it's a matter of, you know, like it's clearly, or I assume that it is less resources required to print out on your home inkjet a proxy of thing than it is to acquire real version most of the time. I mean, some cards are, you know, if they're terrible commons or something, it doesn't matter. But in those instances, like, I personally don't care about playing against proxies. However, there's obviously other concerns, you know. Can you actually keep the game going if you don't sell cards? You know, that sort of thing. Even before you get into the intellectual rights and what the companies are trying to encourage, that sort of thing. Bad guy trying to slowly encroach on our hero's territory, chasing down the jar. Will it matter? I don't know. We got Jill and Ted. Blue goes down. Panic point advantage, still bad guy. I'm not clear on how we're dealing with Smiley just yet. But at this stage, the Smiley's going to have to walk into range of some mechanicals. There's the second Russell. You don't see one of these go off in games very often. Thing is, print runs are only so large. If a company is going to tell me I must use official game pieces, but they make no effort to make it possible for me to get those game pieces, there's an issue. While I agree, they're not in the business of making games, which sounds weird. They're in the business of making money, which I know you know. Wait, we're juicing up the Crushmore just to kill this. Alright, that's one way to do it. Gravedigger goes down. This is going to almost 100% ensure disease goes on to the Crushmore. It's kind of a tough decision here, but we'll see. And a disease on Ted, but we don't care about that. I'm a little surprised that they didn't fly the Smiley to both Ted and the Crushmore. I'm not sure why they're trying to preserve the Smiley at this point, because, like, I guess they want to send it this way so they can hypothetically get access to the Boolean. That doesn't seem worth it. Bees! What's good, Bees? And while they're killing Decent Gaming doing that, doing what? I don't know what that was in response to. Down goes Ted. Heartbreaking. You hate to see it. Unless you're a hero who's in charge of panic points 5-0. Bad guy dirtling just too long. These are two Smiley games we saw tonight that Smiley lost. Like, Smiley is another phobie that is commonly on new or new-ish players' quote-unquote broken lists. And it's just, generally speaking, not very useful. Which is fine. Like, I'm not saying we need to get our torches and pitchforks out to buff Smiley, but, like, yep, bad guy. There's no way to save it. No way to stop the panic point onslaught. Can't even kill the Gonzo. Yikes. G. Well played. Smiley's been buffed too much nowadays. And Smiley's fine. The thing is, Smiley is typically such a tempo loss, and mechs are already so good for the most part. So here's the thing. Like, let's say Sentinels and a bunch of other common mechs get nerfed. Then maybe there's an argument. Because, like, if the answer to Smiley is just, well, get a mech on the board and kill it, there's always going to be mechs. Mechs are kind of falling off with Doc and Billy existing. I don't know if you're trolling or not. I legitimately can't tell, because, like, mechs still exist. Like, you can play mechs with those phobies. Like, there's nothing that says you can't play Hevo alongside any of those guys or anything like that. To the earlier thing about the Godzilla card game, so I mentioned this in Discord, but realistically, the main thing that's going to happen with a smaller set, and as I understand it, a lot of card games that are in Japan, I think, do this, where they have, like, tons and tons of sets, but they're only, like, 100 cards. And then when they come over to the West, typically it's well after the game has been in Japan for a while, so what they do to catch people up is each set will be, like, set 1 for the US would be sets 1 through X in Japan. And then it condenses it, catches you up, and then they do whatever the releases are from there. Usually, like in the past for a lot of games, and I don't know how it is now, but for a lot of those games, they would end up being out of sync for a lot of time, if not every time. And as far as collectability and game piece accessibility, it's just going to come down to the math. So if, like, the super rares are still 1 in a case or something like that, if there's less packs and less boxes, like, maybe proportionally it doesn't matter, or if it's... So a case in Star Wars, for example, is 6 boxes, regular cases, with 24 packs each, and there are certain things that are at, obviously, different rarities, and you can figure out the math of, I will get X number of this card in... I will need this many packs to ensure that I get this quantity of... minimum this quantity of this card, assuming an even distribution. When you buy enough product, the numbers are just big enough that, okay, yeah, you can safely assume that. If the ratios are the same as, like, that sort of game, it would be problematic because you would have to end up getting way more instead of that one. That stuff doesn't work on this. I don't know. It should, actually. Did the thing go off? Did the random toy go off? I wasn't looking. It should have. But anyway, the bottom line is it'll come down to the way the math works out. And I don't think the Godzilla card game has released what the chances are for their packs yet. All right, so got a little nuclrar, whatever. We already did this joke. Death. We already beat that joke to death. Pyrobis. I never got to use Undertaker's ability in this game, but I feel like I got a lot of value out of it anyway. Undertaker really fits neatly into a Billy comp since Billy abuses Cupcake so effectively, and Undertaker also has a lot of HP for 7 keys. We will see. Speaking of Billy, I get why the devs wanted Billy to exist. I think it's something that everybody has been thinking about since the game came out. I was talking earlier about the baseline setup for Phobies. You know, 2 movement, either it's melee or ranged, maybe it has an ability, whatever. What if it had 3 actions? The problem is that there are design constraints around how the game functions that probably should not be breached. And 3 actions is one of them. Is there a way for Billy to be balanced? Yeah, sure. I'm confident that that exists. That's a Yeti. Or is that Sasquatch? That's Sasquatch. Why does Yeti and Sasquatch have 3 eyes? Like, is that a thing in any lore? That they have 3 eyes? I don't think that's the case, right? I could be wrong. Phantom. Enemy phobia is using invisibility. Probably reuse the model for Yeti from Sasquatch. I mean, yes, that is accurate. But that doesn't really answer the question. Like, the question is, why on Yeti, who was the first one to have the model, did it have 3 eyes? The model reusage is not uncommon. There's a number of examples. I mean, we have examples on the board right now. Phantom was Heartbreaker. Cupcake was Muffin Top. Obviously, there's 85 cats now. Ginsting, Puff, and... well, Puff and Noxious are kind of a little bit of a rework. Giggles and Bowmangles, but... And this has been a topic of conversation since the game came out. There's a lot of people who were pissing and moaning for a long time about, oh my god, why don't they just do new stuff? And it's like, because of, yes, it's a cost-cutting measure, because it costs money. Like, art is, for people who are unaware, art is commonly, far and away, the most expensive component of a game. And we, at least myself and a lot of other people, credit where credit is due, the Phobies team has done a spectacular job on the art. And all of the art-related design. And the people that are creating it should be fairly compensated for it, so I'm not saying don't pay them or something, but that doesn't change that it is the most expensive component. Presumably. We don't know exactly what Smoking Gun's expenses are, but this is based on being around games and game industry related things for so many years. You pick up this information over time. I'm just curious, like, from staring at all of the Phobies models, right? We do this every stream. I pick apart the art on stuff because, whoa, wait a sec. Speaking of that, did everybody catch that for a second on the replay that we saw the Sasquatch briefly on the lava tile? I don't know why I just said invisibility there. I think I triggered a bug in the replay. That's definitely a bug, but that's been around there. There goes Undertaker. Oh. The good diagonal setup. That's a pretty good turn from Bad Guy. That's a pretty good turn from Bad Guy. How can we send games for you to look at again? Through my Discord. So !Discord in the Twitch chat will get you a link. And there's instructions in my Discord for how to do it. I do this every Sunday. Once again, Hevo 3.0 coming out to cook the opposition. Phantom going down. I will warn you, we are full for tonight. We had a significant number of submissions, which is pretty good. We're getting back to the way things were. We're not quite at full strength when we still had like 50, 60 games in the queue. But we're getting there. We're getting there. Bad Guy, or I guess, yeah, this statement will work. Bad Guy couldn't withstand the retaliation. I don't know why Billy looks so dramatic here. It looks cool. Dropped off the game for about a year. That's fair. We were just talking about that earlier. I can understand why people may have stepped away. Hopefully people are... I've seen a number of people starting to come back. They're trickling in. Hopefully the devs take it to heart and will correct some of the issues. We did get that big statement around the anniversary from Boss. So there is hope. There is light at the end of the tunnel. We'll see what happens. So I'm looking at the site to see if I can find distribution info. It looks like it's $4.50 for a pack, $54 for a display. So that's probably a box. 12 packs, $972 for a carton. 972 what? Dollars? Well, answer the question of how frequent. Yeah, until we know what the actual distribution numbers are for like what the actual rarity of, like the real rarity of a thing, we can't really gauge it. Because it could be 1 in 1,000 packs for a super rare. It could be 1 in every 2 packs. Who knows? We have no idea. Alright, jumping in. Nuclrardeath. With another dissertation. What is it with people tonight and doing this? Alright, hold on. I had an interesting conversation with Carson and a few others about how people use Chevelle. The too long didn't read as I feel like players use Chevelle to poke for damage too much, especially in Chevelle plus Innocuous mirror matchups. There's obviously a lot of nuance to this game. I don't feel like they play particularly well, but I feel like this game is a decent example of Marshall poking twice and giving up a lot of map control defensive versatility the turn after. I think, so we might as well talk about it. The Shove Shark Innocuous thing is, it's only 2 PvZ. Like, we've had dearh shows where it's been like 9 dearh games. This is nothing. What's the current situation of the game's balance? Well, we were about to dive into it. So, Innocuous. Innocuous, insert the other 2 Sentinels, because it could also be true there. We're talking about 3-range Phobies with Shove Shark. Is the main crux of people's complaints. I am of the opinion, and so are many other people, that there are other problems as well. But here's the issue. And to nuclrardeath's point, this combination is not unbeatable. It is obnoxious. And those are 2 different things. You can beat these play patterns. Karst has opened, and many other high-level players have said that you can beat this strategy. It is not that it is unbeatable. It's that it's fucking boring. And you don't want to fight that gameplay loop. However, I can't fault any player. And again, to nuclrardeath's point, if bad guy here made errors, odds are it's worked in the other 9 out of 10 games that they've played. Now, admittedly, our hero here is also abusing some movement mechanics via Billy and Shove Shark. Billy, another one then, that could be on the list, or should be on the list. And Phantom, another phobie that's also going to be on the list of problematic phobies. Notably, all the Sentinels, Phantom, and Shove Shark are banned right now in Monster of the Week. But the point is, these strategies are not necessarily overpowered in the sense that it is do it or you lose. However, it requires specific answers strategically and, to a lesser degree, specific phobies. And it is not a desirable play pattern to try and combat for most people. You can play a stale decks, but you lose players for a boring and unfun game. I mean, that's kind of what I always say, is that, like, the bottom line is the game needs to be fun. It can be wildly unbalanced, but if the game is fun and people are enjoying it, who cares? It doesn't matter if it's unbalanced. What matters is that people are having fun. But if they're not having fun, it doesn't matter if it's perfectly balanced, because they're not going to play. Now, it is unlikely that you're going to have a wildly unbalanced game for a long period of time and people are still enjoying it. It's equally unlikely that you're going to have a really balanced game and people hate it. But it is possible to have one of those extremes. I wasn't really paying attention to that, and now that you mention it, like all the games I've been playing since coming back, around 100, I've had Shove Shark and Sentinels and Phantom. It is simultaneously a very obvious, simple to execute, and powerful strategy. That is a recipe for boring games. Because you have to put in so much more effort on the other side to appropriately combat it. And because it's so linear, you are limited in your ways to combat it. So it becomes less interesting for the opponent, win or lose. And that's part of the problem. It does not feel satisfying or gratifying. By the way, this is a triple hit from a damn Billy that's juiced up. Sick. Now, I spent a lot of time not breaking down the actual gameplay elements. We could go back and do that. Spoiler alert, I'm not going to do that tonight. But we could critique the actual plays from Bad Guy. I don't think that's as meaningful for the same reason that I don't care about the balance piece. The balance is not the issue. It's the gameplay loop. We could rebalance this so that this is not a powerful strategy. Just nerf the shit out of the Sentinels and Phantom and Shove Shark or whatever, and make it so they're effectively unplayable. And Billy to it also, but whatever. You get the point. Take all the things that people hate, make them bad. That's one way to address it, but as I said with the anniversary update, notification, whatever, what I want to know, what I'm yearning to know, is what the devs' goals are. What are their targets? What do they want the game to look like? Because we can play whack-a-mole with the symptoms. And by that, I mean we can fix the individual outliers. But if they don't understand what is making it more or less fun for the player base, we're going to keep running into new Sentinels, new Shove Sharks, new Phantoms, and new Billies. Now, I think for the most part, they've demonstrated that they... Well, I'm of two minds about how they demonstrate it, because if you look... I've said this before. If you look at, like, we're talking initial launch Phobies. Yes, there were all the nerfs to beauty and blah, blah, blah. Everybody thought everything was great then. But then years later, well, maybe not years, but a year later, everybody was shrieking about Boss Gonzo. Boss Gonzo were in the initial release, and none of them were ever touched with balance patches. So you can look at it as, well, the devs created this perfectly balanced game, and then they introduced these overpowered Phobies. Or you could look at it as, there were always overpowered Phobies and problematic play patterns, and we only discovered them as the player base way further down the line, now that we've garnered and built the skills to properly identify what needs to happen or not. Point is, I'm still going to keep repeating it. We need to know, what are we trying to build? What are the core Phobies and the core gameplay experience? And then we can decide what the niche things are. Like, okay, 2 movement, 2 range is base, so therefore a 3 range has to confer some kind of penalty in order to justify whatever's going on. If the devs think that this poke-based gameplay is acceptable to exist as a concept, the Shove Shark push Sentinel, the Shove Shark push Billy, the whatever, that's fine. Then it's up to the player base to decide, do you want to keep that as a thing? Like, do you want to participate in a game where that is a thing? Long tirade. All right, let's get into this tacobulldog game that is exceptionally long, probably longer than my tirade. You sit there and think about what you did. Well, we're going to be sitting here for a while. I know there was a lot of comments in chat. I just got a ping in Discord that I'm trying to figure out what's going on. That is not from something that I care about. All right. Chomp, me and Potenzia tested some games with the bands of Monster Week, and we learned that AoE in general becomes more powerful once Shove Shark and the Sentinels are out of the picture. Who could have possibly seen that coming, because everybody bitched and moaned about Klepto beforehand. Which, by the way, I personally think Klepto's fine, but we need to... This is what I'm talking about. We need to decide what is fine, and then build outward. We can't just arbitrarily pick and choose and whack-a-mole things, because you're going to end up... Like, it's just a way less efficient process when you have that many variables. Guess it might help to help me to do math. If we assume a carton contains a playset of everything mathematically, like a print run's work, an unbroken carton contains a print run, 18 times 12, 216. 4 of every super rare is 40. 216 divided by 40 is 5.4. So assuming a carton possibly contains an unbroken run, playset contained, and you expect an SR in roughly every 5.4 packs. I mean, that math is... Wait, hold on. What the fuck? Taco, what are we doing here? I'm busy looking at chat, and chat doesn't say anything about the gargoyle that just took over the center. Come on, chat, you're slacking here. Help me out. I'm trying to do both. There's a lot of fire. Yeah, as far as the packs go, I mean, it'll come down to the math. And then the real math will be how much it costs. I mean, MSRP, I'm sure it's going to be cost of packs times number of packs in box. Gargles D's. Got him. Sounds like a joke from the Mind Goblin. There's a lot of Fire Ant and Boss and other fire phobies, for me at least. Yeah, I mean, fire phobies have always been around. That play rocks. Got him. Everybody loves puns, and if you don't, can you really say you're human? Alright, we got a little spider action. We're gonna try to take down this cassowary. Bad guy was like hyper aggressive here. After their wacky ass gargles play. After the wacky gargles play. Part of me wants to use the gargles thing as the thumbnail, but like, I don't know. We have the MSRP too. $50 for a display of 12 packs. Yeah, but what's the... I'm not going to do the math in my head. The math for getting the playset of everything is what would matter. That's an extremely... It's still an extremely small set. So we got a Hexy coming out. Does Stabby also do the head tilt thing where it, like, stretches the, excuse me, it stretches the throat area on the voodoo doll? Does not. It's always... I wonder about that stuff of, like, A, do I remember it? Or B, is it because the models has a different color palette and... looks a little different that maybe you don't realize it, or is it just actually different and it's a net new animation? Alright, so we got Panic Point Advantage Hero. The Stalemate's coming in, by the way. I thought this game was a 32-turn game. It's actually 38. Of all the games, this one's using up most of the turns of them. It's like how Hematic Ginseng eats a bee and Ginseng has a bee fly out of its head. Yeah, they do have slight variations on it. Which is good. Like I was saying earlier, the art team does a fantastic job with Phobies. Graylien on the board as well. Our hero does have to make something happen here, but I imagine this Gargles is going to bite the dust. Yep. Notably... neither player put a Gravedigger on the board to break the obstacles that Noxious is standing on or is just above Klepto. Those are very common lines on this map, so that way you can run a one key straight through to the center tile. Both players said, fuck it! Because why not? Zero keys to 11, by the way. While our hero has been taking a beating, art-wise. They are up many keys. Speaking of hematic ginseng, now I'm watching the ginseng. No, the hematic ginseng has the same animation because, like, the bee just went back in his head, and they both lick their, like, they scrape honey off themselves, I guess, and lick it. I guess that's what it's supposed to be. I don't know. We're gonna clobber that klepto. That is, in fact, a dead klepto. Bees! More bees, specifically. Morbius is no longer the lowest rated superhero movie, right? Didn't something eclipse it? That movie was such a meme for like 6 months, maybe a year. Honestly, that Hexy put in a fair amount of work as far as powering things down, but Poison gets there anyway. Juiced up Hematic, doing baseline damage. There's a world where you should well, you get better poison from the Moffat than you do from the sheep if you're not farting on things. But our hero with still plenty of keys and now a panic point advantage stabilizing. Just slowly attritting bad guys' forces. I gotta be the unluckiest Phobies player ever. Never won a single Discord giveaway despite joining each one. Never got free icon or free 10k coffee despite playing daily and opening all jacks. You're not alone. Like, I mean, the odds of getting any of the free stuff, I don't know what it was for the icons. Because, like, I got the werewolf Christmas one, and I forgot what the other one was. I've gotten those. But it feels like I'm alone. You gotta remember, the internet, people are gonna brag. Like, why would they brag about not getting it? You know what I mean? For the giveaways and things like that, it's what, like 1 or 2 people out of 10,000 or whatever. The odds are just not very good there. The 10k coffee, I don't think has ever been confirmed what the numbers are. This is the second time Jar got juiced. Why is this game not over? Okay, hold up. What are you doing? Why is that Clinico still alive? All right, Taco, you and I need to have a talk. What are we doing here? That's a lot of stuff, Atona. I don't really understand what all that means. So, did they release rules for, like, how it works? Like, are the Rage cards an independent deck? Taco, what are we doing? What are we doing? My brother in Christ. My brother in Christ, this is not necessary. What are we doing here? Who is he torturing, though? Because it's not just bad guy. Yeah, bad guy, you get him. I swear to God. I kind of don't want to watch your other games now, Taco. I kind of don't want to. Oh, Taco. What are you doing, pal? Don't be doing that. The BM of all BM. This is why we need surrenders. All right, Taco. This is a 39-turn game. That is 1 turn longer than the abomination we just watched. If you torture this person again... If you torture this person again... I don't know that we're going to watch your 3rd game. And I know Taco's not here to defend themselves. But they do comment, so I want to see how Taco responds. In all the rules, we do know rage cards are not part of the 50. So how do you know about the monsters? I gotta be honest, like, I fully expect this game to flop. Although I will say, the Gundam game, there are way more people excited about it than I thought. Like, I don't know that much about Gundam. Especially as far as popularity. Like, I know people like it. But I don't know if it's a strong enough property to be like, hey, you've never played card games before. Come incinerate your entire income by playing this card game. Like, I didn't know if it would be strong enough to get people to do that. But it does sound like there's a lot of people who are heavily invested into Gundam emotionally. Maybe it'll be the same with Godzilla, but I feel like Godzilla is farther down the list than Star Wars right now, and I feel like Star Wars is not in a spot where it is... People are clamoring to incinerate their income just to have everything Star Wars related. I think there are rabid Godzilla fans, but I don't know if Godzilla is at that tier. Why are people using Murder Wing and not Tooth Fairy? Murder Wing's cooler. Look at his adorable little legs. His adorable legs. Also, hold on. How come Murder Wing's eyes don't glow on the in-game model? See what I mean? Murder Wing's the OG. I mean, technically, Tooth Fairy's better because it is more consistent damage output. But I like the damage spike on Murder Wing. There's other advantages to Tooth Fairy, like you can actually heal it. Whereas Murder Wing is just never going to heal. Pound for pound, Tooth Fairy's probably better. But in all likelihood, like tacobulldog's account is only like level 30, I think. So like, they probably just don't have it. How do we know about the monsters? We know monsters aren't part of the 50. A starter deck specifically lists 50 card deck plus 4 monsters plus 6 rage cards. I also have a picture of each card type, and rage and monster cards do not have cost bubbles. Okay, that explains it. It's not the eyes in the card art, it's like the fleshy insides. I mean, that could be true. Would you describe eyes as fleshy? Is that a description you would use for eyes? I feel like you would, right? Like, if we're talking, like, Dr. Frankenstein level thing, or just, like, a jar full of eyes, would you call that a fleshy mass? This is how you get on a list, chat. This is how you get on a list, by asking these sort of questions. I can't wait for the comments on this video. Depends? What exactly does it depend on? You would describe eyes as wet? This is what Taco gets for doing what he did in the last game. We're just going to talk about whatever. Eyes are obviously alien, as our immune system kills them if they discover eyes exist. Wet. All right, we got some speedolas. Picture of the rage card is like 99% picture with just rage threat plus 5,000. Of course, it's in thousands. And the picture of a monster we have as threat is the stat on the lower right side. I'm sure rage cards are like designed graphically similar to how modern templating for lands are in Magic. Under what circumstances, PvZ? I'm not doubting you. This is me learning a new fact. And don't try and link it, because the bot will obviously eat it. Bwam! Down goes Murderwing. Speaking of Murderwing. I don't really understand the Flesh Crawler edition here. I don't mind the Goon. Speedolas are weird. They're probably not good on this map. Did I call out the notes for this game? Bad guy kind of seals his own fate here. I think I said that one. I think I said those notes. I don't remember. It's also true for any sort of limb transplant. Well, limb and organ transplants are a known thing where that's why you take immunosuppressants when those things happen. I don't know if you have to take them, like, forever. Like, it's past a certain point that your body then stops rejecting it. But yeah, like, if you get a heart transplant or something, it's my understanding that your body will, at baseline, go, hey, this isn't me, it's gotta fucking go. So your body will start attacking it. I'm not a doctor. In case you couldn't tell. You know what? Now I hate that I just had this thought because I'm going to think this every single time. That's some big boy AoE damage. Oh no. Blom. Yeah, bad guy did kind of bring this game on themselves. Between the Speedolas, the Flesh Crawler, the walking into what's happening here. Why did you put the freeze trap there? I guess because there is the chance the Speedola is going to try and sneak around, and then it's going to have a bad day. So the thought that I had that I kind of hate is, you know, all those weird videos on YouTube where it's like it's a split screen of a clip and then like some totally unrelated thing that people can watch while they're listening to the clip, and it's usually like metalworking or like one of those like ice shattering in a perfect thing, or like somebody coloring something in a very satisfying way or whatever. I had the thought that having Phobies going on in the background while I'm rambling about other stuff is basically one of those videos, and now I hate it. Like, I hate that thought. Speedola did go in. Speedola did get frozen. Look, the trap worked out. I mean, I think it was a pretty good prediction on our hero's part of identifying that they were trying to set that up. But they also could have put it on this panic point and done the same thing. Like, it doesn't matter. Yeah, going for the perma-freeze. That's actually adorable. From what I understand, it's less if they find out the eyes exist, but more like the immune system mistakes healthy cells as unhealthy cells and attacks them, which includes the eyes. I mean, that, I believe, is the result of a variety of different conditions where that could happen. And again, I'm not a doctor, so I can't, like, well, name 5 conditions that cause your immune system to attack your own body. Like, I can't do that off the top of my head. But I'm sure those things exist. So, like, that doesn't surprise me at all. I didn't, like, interpret when you said they find out eyes exist. Like, very literally. By the way, Taco could have ended the game 2 turns earlier. Yeah, but there's a difference between inefficient play and just dirtling for the sake of dirtling. Like, the last game was expressly to torture their opponent. This one is more likely due to inefficient play. Hold, please. Taco, god damn it! So, one argument that could be made in Taco's defense here is that they are giving bad guy an opportunity to get some extra points by punching the Blasto. But we all know that that's not the case. Shame, Taco. Shame, Taco. For shame. This is where you get the rolls up newspaper going, whack. No. Bad. Don't do that. But we only got 2 games left. We got Taco and we got PvZ, so this one's much quicker. We don't have another 40-turn game of Taco torturing both their opponent and us. The Trap Absorber won't stop what's coming to you, buddy. All right, let's see what's happening. Skip his 3rd game now. I'm not gonna lie, I'm only half joking about it. Like, I was seriously considering it. I don't want to promote BM. How long do game replays last? I usually do maximum 10 game replays per replay session. So after this game and the next one, it will, like, all the ones that are in the queue is empty. So next week it'll be whatever the first one is that are there. Yeah, unless an update's coming, then I try and get through as many as I humanly can. How long do game replays last in a game? It depends on the game length. Like, you can see it down to the bottom center, how many turns it is. So it just kind of depends on, you know, do people play a really long game or whatever. Taco with the slammer head. I'm trying to figure out if Slammerhead has an asymmetric amount of teeth, but I'm sure it doesn't, and it's just, you know, the way the model looks. Sometimes a little play button, sometimes is broken. Oh, how long do they last on your profile? So yeah, exactly what PvZ's saying. If a game update releases that changes phobie characteristics, so it could be their stats, it could be a nerf to, like, it changes their ability, it could be, like, as in a rework, it could be changing the cooldown, the warm-up, anything like that. And there have been other examples beyond phobie changes, but that one's probably the most obvious. It will then break any replays, because when the game tries to load the replay, it's going to say, hey, these values aren't right, what are you doing? And then it kills it. Additionally, they added a new way to view some of those replays, but it causes none of the animations to play. So it causes issues there. Like, the replay is, for most intents and purposes, unwatchable. Additionally, they will only last on your profile up to a certain amount of games. So if I don't remember what the number is, but, like, say it's 50 games. When you play your 51st game, the oldest game will fall off your profile. Whiskers? Dude, I don't know that I've seen this phobie in a game before. I don't remember this animation at all. Holy shit. So, to finish the thought, quantity of games and then also time. Like, after a certain amount of time, it'll start removing them. Is Sabian good? Sabian's pretty good. It's exactly 50 games. I thought it was 50. Dude, we've got a Whiskers. Honestly, Whiskers looks pretty cool. I mean, it's certainly creepy, but Whiskers is kind of cool. But none of this matters if you're just going to march your team in. My brother in Christ, what are we doing here? I love the little manhole cover that pops up. Hey, speaking of Sabian, I get the feeling this is not going to be a good showcase of Sabian's powers. We got a big old poison AoE going down on a dimensional and 3 undeads, as well as AoE from Thematic Jin Sting. Sick play there. Using their own phobie to kill their phobie. Down goes Erratic. Pretty good turn from Taco. Pretty good turn from Taco. A lot of flesh crawlers tonight. A lot of flesh crawlers tonight. I don't know why, but flesh crawler seems like it's floating more on the tile it's on than a lot of the other phobies. I mean, Whiskers kind of looks like it, but Miss Moffat looks like it's actually standing on stuff. So does Shove Shark and Hevo. And Jeeves. And Jin Sting. I don't know. There's something about it. I can already predict the last 4 turns are just Taco doing torture. It might be. It might be. It could also be bad guy running away. Nope, it's not going to be bad guy running away. Takedown on the Noxious. Wiggy coming in. Desperation on the wind. Down goes the flesh crawler. Steve's putting the pressure on. What is Slammerhead doing? Why are we pulling the Slammerhead back? No, bad guy. You can't win! Oh my god. That has to be high on their priority list. Like, allow surrenders. They need to fix the whole in-game economy. Like, the whole thing. It's got to get corrected. Alright, in Taco's defense on this one, they were not trying to torture bad guy. Yet. I mean, we'll see what they do here. Boop. Actually, a good play. Boop him into range. Steve's cleaning up. Well done. Much better, Taco. Much better than the monstrosity that we were forced to consume earlier. Chad, I didn't bring it up earlier, but if you want to watch some other turn-based stuff with me struggling, you may want to watch my Urtuk series. I'm posting it to YouTube. I am live streaming it. We'll probably get more in next Friday. Last night did not go well. We had... It was the struggle bus. PVZ not favoriting the game! Alright, we're closing up with a long one. PVZ on Phobopolis. Chuck be the king of the hill. Did favor the... It was not favorited. Was this not the game? Is this not the right game? Feel like if Taco was winning that harder, they would have tortured their enemy, maybe. This is the game, but I did favor it. It didn't save it then. It was definitely not favorited. Don't ask me why. I don't know. Maybe it's a bug. Now that I say that, everyone's going to claim that it was a bug when they forgot to favorite it. I almost am to the point where I want to ban submissions on certain maps. And Phobopolis may be one of those maps. Here's the thing. Because we were talking map design this week in my Discord, and I do like Karst's ideas of laying out ground rules. Because just like for Phobies themselves, not like Phobies, I mean, I guess Phobies the game, but like for the Phobie game pieces, there need to be ground rules for what is quote-unquote normal, so that then you can have these niche and unique Phobies, but also gauge it so that that way you don't have things that are way over or underpowered, because there are certain things that are unwritten rules, like bad sushi is usually my go-to example, that unless you buff bad sushi to the level that it is actually unhealthy and problematic, bad sushi will never be good. And if it's unhealthy and problematic, that's also not good. So, like, bad sushi is not going to ever work. And I think that maps need to be designed in a similar fashion, because if you don't, and this is something that I was frustrated with, but I understand with StarCraft 2 map design. So in StarCraft 2, basically, and this was not the case in StarCraft 1. They eventually kind of got there, but StarCraft 1 has some unique configurations because of limitations in the game. In StarCraft 2, it's you have your base and you have your natural, and it's like a free extra base. If your opponent is hyper aggressive, they can prevent you from getting it, but odds are, if you're a good player, unless they catch you unaware, you know, like they do it 1 out of every 100 games, and they catch you once, and they might not even catch you on that 100th one. Maybe you catch them and then you blow them out. Odds are you get that free base. And then the other parts of the map design are like, they always cross spawn. So you know where they start. And then, oh, this map has airspace around your base, so you know that it's susceptible to air attacks, as compared to one where the ground area goes all the way up against the edges of the map, and therefore it is much more difficult to sneak a unit in there to harass your worker line, those sort of things. And there's other rules for the map designs. How that relates to Phobies is with Karst has been laying out rules for what constitutes a good and trying to define what constitutes a good versus bad map. But it still comes down to what are the gameplay loops that we're trying to enforce. So in recent patches, most of the common small map designs have featured the fact that Gravedigger is required. They are pretty much 100% Gravedigger maps. Now, I think a lot of people, Karst included, and Karst usually watches these, so he can correct me if this is putting words in his mouth, don't want Gravedigger required maps, or anything required maps. They want a variety of strategies to be utilized, which is fine. I think there is room for, this is a Gravedigger map. Just start Gravedigger, and it's testing your skills to be able to do certain lines and get it done. I think that's good for a number of reasons, including for newer and newish players, because for them, everything's obviously new, and when they have that eureka moment of, shit, I should be using Gravedigger here. What the fuck? Oh, please. I haven't seen a Mistletoad yet. What were the notes for this? You're talking about Chuck and didn't even mention the Mistletoad? Dude. That's sick. But anyway, so we need to decide, is it okay for the Gravedigger map, or a map like this where it's just a ton of choke points and very stally? Are those allowed to exist? Because there are people who like this. Somebody in chat earlier said that they like Phobopolis. Mistletoe did nothing. Yeah, but it's in the game. So the point is, I don't even know what Mistletoe does. Like, I pulled it up and didn't even read it. Revenge Attacker. Places a spell on a friendly unit. An enemy that kills this unit is killed as well. Places direct attacks, abilities, and stomping. What is stomping? Is that like AoE boops? What attacks are considered stomps? Stomping on bones? If you step on, like, does it say stomp in the Undead Bones description? Like, does it actually use the word stomp? Or do the devs just confirm that outside? Like, outside of game. That sounds entirely plausible. How long does this last? 2 turns? It says step on. That wouldn't surprise me. Because it would be redundant for, like, Rambelina's AoE boop to be considered a stomp. It's already an ability. No, it only lasts for 2 turns. That's what the other thing was. Dude, Mistletoe changes colors. That's sick. But as far as the map stuff goes, I just want there to be a rubric. Obviously, one of the rules for maps is they must be symmetrical, which I personally disagree with. I'd be perfectly fine with asymmetrical maps as another way to play around with the key advantage or disadvantage to try and, you know, like, what if we created a map where both players have the identical amount of keys, but first and second player have different access to different panic points? I think, since I'm only just mentioning this now and haven't put any thought into it, I'm sure somebody could logic that out and determine, is that going to be problematic or not? If this AWOL kills it, it's going to be hilarious. Lol. Yeah, Mistletoe would actually be insane if its buff lasts forever. Like, imagine if you got your entire team set up with Mistletoe buff. That would be sick. But as far as maps go, I want to know what the rules are. Both what the devs think now, as well as what the devs want, or what the community wants, or like who's deciding what the maps are going to be and how they're going to be set up. I think there might be value in just going through the existing maps and just weeding out all the crap ones. What the I didn't actually look at the animation before. Holy shit, Mistletoe is bonkers. Dude, this is going to be the thumbnail. I need to remember to put Mistletoe on here. The problem is they didn't give me the card asset for Mistletoe, so I'm going to have to do something like this. So I'm going to have to scrub through to find, like, a good animation frame. But yeah, there's a lot of things that I think Phobies could benefit from a more regimented design aspect. No one was given the card asset for Mistletoe? Yeah, I know. Trust me, I know. There are several Phobies, newish ones, that I'm missing stuff for. And, like, I could get them out of the client. But clearly, you know, when I blow those up to be a thumbnail, they're going to look like ass. You don't really need to trade these 1 keys, but I guess you're at such an advantage, it doesn't matter. You have 5 keys, bad guy is 0. Guess we're going to chuck the shit out of this thing. Got him. Down goes Smiley. Have I ever seen Mildred in game? Not only have I seen Mildred, I've lost to Mildred. And Big She, who hasn't, like, I don't even know if Big She's still playing right now. But Big She took it upon themselves to become a Mildred main and was cooking people on ladder for a long time. Firkin powering down the Graylien. I just got a really clutch win with Mildred. Felt so good. Getting to use the niche Phobies definitely makes a lot of people feel good. And building a strategy around them. You know, Chad, I just had a thought. So, Graylien is often considered inferior to a lot of the polls. It does have some edge case scenarios where it's not terrible. And it's like, oh, this is a more useful thing. And we did have somebody who was like hell-bent for a while, making, similar to Big She with Mildred, they were also trying to do things with Graylien. And they would constantly submit game replays where they blew people out with Graylien. And there are scenarios where it's like, oh, I can only do this thing explicitly because it's Graylien. If it was a different poll, I couldn't do it. But another phobie that's in that sort of scenario is paddles versus shove shark. Where paddles is just like pretty much all around an inferior shove shark. The attack from Mistletoad is just a straight up backhand. That's hilarious. So what I was going to suggest is similar to when people say, oh, the jackalopes need buffs, and I usually say, no, they don't necessarily need buffs. What the jackalopes need is, I mean, they do need buffs, but it doesn't have to be directly to them. It could be buffs to things surrounding them, aka the jackalope queen suddenly makes them all way better somehow. Or some other synergistic phobie. We need to see a phobie like Charon that does something other than poop on the ground. And it needs to interact in such a way that paddles giving it the extra move is better than shove shark pushing it. I'm pretty sure if you shove shark a Charon, it still poops on the tile. Like, it's not like you whiff a tile if you shove shark it, but you need the phobie to not interact with shove shark, but benefit from having the additional movement from paddles. It'd be really hard to word that. Because there's no functional difference between shoving it and the phobie just moving on its own. Which is a distinction that should exist, but it would probably require reworking things. And again, I don't know if there's a good way to make that happen. But anyway. Alright, chat. That is the completion of viewer games for this evening. We got back on track with quantity. And in most cases, quality. Even though we had a little BM action somewhere. Shame on you. Shame on you. But if you're interested in Monster of the Week, our weekly Phobies tournament series, or you're interested in submitting your own games, excuse me, for here on Viewer Game Night, get your 15 minutes of fame, so to speak, here on the stream, and of course on YouTube. Hit up the links in the description, or if you're here on the live stream, !Discord, in order to get access to where you gotta be to get all the details. But that's going to do it for this evening. So as always, everybody, thank you for listening, thank you for watching, and tune in next time for more Random Thoughts.